Hello there guys, and welcome to Mad Doc Minis. In this video I'm going to be making some cheap and dirty terrain from these. Do you remember these from when you were a kid? Out of your cheap packs of plastic soldiers that your mum used to get you at the supermarket to shut you up? Yep, that's where these are from, and they're everywhere, and they're super cheap. I found these recently in my mum and dad's attic, and I decided to liberate them for Warhammer 40,000. Stay tuned if you're interested. The first thing I do is to sand these all over to help the paint adhere to the smooth toy kind of plastic surface there, and also to give them a weathered appearance. I have this broken one. Although I have both pieces and could easily glue this together, I decided to do something a bit different with it. So I used pieces from the containers and scenery sprue for Warhammer 40,000. In this case I decided to use a barrel and stick that on the end of this, initially with a little bit of super glue, like so, and then I reinforce from underneath with a little bit of hot glue. That's quite advisable because super glue, as we all know, is quite brittle, and these things are liable to get chucked around, and therefore you're going to kind of lose bits off it, and it's going to snap off and fly off in different directions. So reinforcing with that is very advisable. I do a similar job on the other broken bit using a container instead of a barrel. Same principle here. Moving forward with that same philosophy, I then covered these things with all manner of bits and pieces from my bits box. Ammo drums, pouches, las guns, you name it, it kind of anything that I had lying around, it kind of got put on there. I think less is more to a point with this stuff. You don't want them to be completely covered, but the items of personal kit in particular definitely make a difference. You know, the las guns, the pouches, things like that that soldiers might leave hanging around, that tells a little bit of a story, and it also importantly connects them to the Warhammer 40,000 universe. You know, a las gun is very iconic, it's very obvious what it is to anyone who plays Warhammer, so things like that really do help to make these look less like toys, which of course they are, and more like, you know, proper terrain pieces for your Warhammer 40,000. In terms of painting, I spray painted them with Wraithbone as a base, and then put grey contrast paint all the way over the blockwork. Looks quite blotchy at the moment, but we do kind of sort that out a little bit more later on. You can see I left the details unpainted in the Wraithbone because we're going to paint those later. So I then pick out blocks here and there with some muted tones. I use Xandri dust initially, and be selective. You don't have to do every other block here, but just here and there definitely adds a little bit of variation and makes the thing look more realistic. Thunderhawk blue up next. I know that sounds weird, but there are blue tones in stone and blockwork, and it definitely enhances it at the end, so do bear with me, guys. And then I use a little bit of Standard Mechanicus grey, and I use that a little bit more readily than the other ones so far. And I also actually add one or two brown blocks here and there. Sounds weird, but it definitely helps to make it look better, and that's just a brown contrast paint that I used there. So I then tidy up the details with a bit of Wraithbone where I've gone over on them, and then decide to add splashes of colour on those. So I use red for the fuel cans, and muted tones elsewhere like blacks and greys and silvers on some of the other equipment. You can see here that I paint the las cannon charge cell here with black, but you know, you can paint whatever you want, but splashes of colour here and there definitely help. I then go over the whole thing with a very heavy wash of Agrax Earthshade. That's straight out of the pot, neat, that's not watered down. Of course, you do you. If you want a, you know, bit of a less powerful wash, you can water it down if you wish. I then go very selectively in with a little bit of static grass here and there just to add a bit of foliage on top, but you may not want to do that because it will tie it to a certain type of terrain, so totally up to you. These are the finished products from the front. Pretty good considering their humble origins, I think. And from the back you can see a little bit more of the equipment lying around there. And yeah, I think for things that are really kind of cheap and nasty, let's face it, they actually turned out okay. Here they are sporting my Praetorian force, which I converted recently in a video, actually. Go and check that out. I'll put a link in the descriptions if you're interested in building your own Praetorians. And yeah, I think they look pretty good. And you know, you can use them for a variety of purposes. You can see here I've got like a heavy weapons emplacement going on here, but they're actually large enough, these particular ones that I've got, to actually put a heavy ordnance battery behind it. Bearing in mind, I've not mounted mine on bases, so that is an important factor in fitting those behind there. So guys, if you've enjoyed the content, please like, share and subscribe. It all helps the channel to grow. And please join me for lots more exciting future projects. Hope you enjoyed, and take care. Cheers.